You see, the devil really plays up on isolation. If we allow the devil to isolate us in any shape or form, whether it be in reality or be in our mind, Elisha here was allowed the devil to isolate him, and he says, only I am left. And God said, I've got 7,000 that hasn't bowed the knee to Baal. So we must always fight against isolation, feeling that we're the only one that knows the plan and the purpose of God. That we're the only ones that stand for God said he had 7,000. Another great example of isolation is John the Baptist, whenever he's baptizing in the River Jordan, and he looks up and he sees Jesus coming. And he says, behold the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. But later on we read, and whenever John the Baptist is imprisoned, he sends his disciples to ask Jesus, are you the Messiah, or do we seek another? How do we prepare ourselves for the counterattack of the devil? We simply be prepared for the counterattack of the devil, that we are continually seeking the face of God, continually knowing, and it's already been talked about today, but knowing the voice of God, knowing what direction he wants us to go in, so it will not be like Elijah and we'll head 180 miles south whenever we should be going 120 miles north. In other words, we'll not be running away from the next commission, the next plan that God has for us, but we'll be going towards it. And we won't allow the devil in any shape or form to hinder us, but we will go in the plan that God has for us. And Elijah had took this notion into his head that he was going to die. Well, there's nothing further from the plan of God, because he's now about 3,500 years old and he hasn't died yet, because he was taken up unto heaven, and he'll not die until the last of the great tribulation. He'll die as one of the two witnesses in Jerusalem. So you see, when fear and panic enters in, we lost the vision of what God has called us to be and to do. And here we see Elijah, and he wants to die. He said, I'm no better than my fathers. I want to die along with my fathers. You see, we can fear, and we can panic, and we can lose sight of the plan of God. And we have been raised up for such a time as this, and God's pouring out his Spirit upon all flesh. And we ignore fear and panic, and we just believe God. Just to put that thought in us, whether it's north, south, east, or west, whatever God is planning for us to do, that we will be available. And whenever we see the work of God done, like Elisha saw there in the previous chapter about the false prophets being slain with the sword, and the fire of God coming down upon the altar, that's the time whenever we need to draw closer to God. When we see God touch somebody, we need to draw closer to God and look for the next one. Not to sit back and say, well, we won this battle. But be prepared for the counterattack. And the only way to be prepared is to walk in the plan and the purpose of God, knowing that there's nothing can hinder us. No weapon formed against us can prosper. Knowing that the devil has been defeated by Jesus at Calvary. Knowing that Jesus has already overcome the world, the flesh, and the devil. As many leaving themselves wide open because of their pursuit of self-satisfaction, the pursuit of pleasure of this world. But there's no greater pleasure than to know the plan of God,